Welcome to Silicon Valley Successes. We interview experts and entrepreneurs to give the world access to the knowledge and experience that is here in Silicon Valley. Our mission is to create opportunities for those who seek them and to help you to become the next Silicon Valley success.
Welcome to Silicon Valley Successes, where we interview experts in Silicon Valley to bring you the knowledge of years' experience here to help you at home with your startup. So we're creating this reference library that can be accessed anywhere in the world. And today our guest is Doris Pickering, who is the founder of Silicon Valley Speaks. Doris, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Shawn.
Please tell us a little bit about what Silicon Valley Speaks is.
Well, Silicon Valley Speaks was founded to help executives and professionals embrace how they speak and how they communicate their value propositions to whoever is listening.
What's value propositions?
What they do in their essence. So, for example, if you are a startup and you're selling whatever you're selling, get to the heart of what it is and why would anybody want to buy it. And so you're not wasting a lot of people's time going to places where they don't care. Get to the point quickly and move on.
Okay, so if I had a startup and I was pitching to an investor, what would that structure kind of look like? Would it just be me talking about why I formed this company for 5 or 10 minutes? Is that getting to the point? Or is it like a problem, or what do you mean by getting to the point?
Well, it depends on who your audience is. So, for example, if you're just at a networking event, say like you're at the Mountain View Chamber, at one of their events, and if you're just saying, hey, so what do you do? That would be a different conversation than if you're doing a formal pitch to a venture capitalist where you're seeking money.
Okay.
So again, what I work with people is, what are you trying to say? Who is your audience? And then I help them crystallize and get to the very nitty-gritty of what they're saying. Because again, the audiences are very different. So if you go in and you have one message and you just say the same message to everybody you're talking to, that's the wrong approach.
So you're saying I have to tailor my message for who I'm speaking to?
Correct, correct.
Okay, so if I come to you and I say, I want to tailor my message specifically to talk to an investor, what would your recommendation be for that?
And that would depend on, are you doing the angel seed or the early round investor, if you've already been funded?
So
because they're different conversations.
How about, let's go with the angel and actually, now let's go with the seed. Very early, friends and family, and then let's move up.
Right. So the early stages, you really need to bring forth your passion and answer the question. There's 2 questions you always want to answer. So what? And why should anybody care? Right? Because again, at the end of the day, no matter who you're talking to, you need to keep those 2 in mind. Because if you're selling something that's been out in the market for 20 years and it's just another flavor, typically that will be a who cares, right? Nobody's going to get excited over that. But the excitement really starts with you. So you need to communicate your excitement about it and evangelize your own products in a way where other people will go, wow, that's really cool. And even if they really don't understand your product or they're kind of doubtful about it, if you can convince them with your passion and that you totally believe in it, a lot of people will get beyond that stage and go, you know what, I'm just going to keep pursuing that because I believe in you, and then go to the next stage.
So you're saying at the very beginning, the earliest stage of a startup trying to raise funds,
right?
It's to convince the person through their message with passion?
Correct.
Okay. What about the next stage?
So the next stage, that's where you still really need to bring your passion, but people will really want to know, so what's in it for me? Like if you're wanting me to be an investor, why would I want to be an investor? So again, that's what I'm listening to is, again, your passion and do you really believe in you? Because if you don't believe in you, then people will feel that energy and they'll typically walk. Because again, that's the first bar that you have to meet. Do you believe in your product? And again, if so, why?
And then what's the next stage?
So that's where you really want to hone in on, the return on investment. Who is your team? So do you have experience? Does your team have experience? Why would I as an investor want to believe that you are a good CEO to manage the business part?
Okay.
So, but by that, who have you chosen to be part of your team? Because that's one of the first decisions that you will be making. And if you blow it on that, then again, you're not a good decision maker.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, talking about that, so I'm selling my company and myself
Correct.
at the same time.
Correct.
With my emotion, my passion, but really emphasizing the team at the same time? I'm kind of confused.
Right.
Go into a little more
the
detail.
team is critical if you have a team. Because again, if you're early and it's just you, that's a different value proposition than if you have the team of one, the most important team. But again, if you have, say, 10 people, who are those 10 people? And are you thinking critically, strategically, and intentionally where each person has their own specific role? Or are you going, this is my best friend, George, and I really like Sally too, so I just thought I'd bring them along with me. And they really don't have any experience. And oh, by the way, they don't like each other, right? So that'll be the kiss of death. If people are looking at your org chart and going, so who are these people and why are they there? And they don't care if they're their best friend from kindergarten. They want to know that you as a CEO or the leader of your startup can make these decisions wisely that will propel your company. Because that is the way the investors are going to get their money back. And so if you're stumbling out of the get-go from the decisions you're bringing on your team, again, that will be a really impediment to you up front.
Interesting.
So if you have a team, you need to be really thoughtful about who those team members are and how you have them set up.
And then Silicon Valley Speaks, it sounds like it's more business coaching than just speaking, or are those two related?
It's all one in the game, because the one and the same, because to have a strong business, guess what you get to do? You get to talk to people about it. So if you're stumbling over how do you sell this glass of water? This is the best glass of water on the planet because it's not too long, it's not too short. It keeps your your drinks cold. It keeps them hot. You have to sell that because guess what? There's a million cups out there. So again, if you don't have down pat the explanation of why people should choose this cup versus that cup, again, that will impede you from getting more market share and attention. It's all about visibility. So you have to be able to sell yourself and your product in different types of situations. Whether you're at a dinner party or on the golf course, you're still selling yourself, no matter where you are. And a lot of people don't think that way. They're just thinking about, I'm going to do this pitch to this investor, and I have to say this, this, this. But again, your next investor may be at the barbecue down the street for Labor Day, right? That may be the next investor. So are you going to just, if somebody says, so what do you do? Are you just going to hit them with that canned speech? Because nobody wants to listen to that. So again, that's a lot of what I work with people is, if you're in this situation, you want to say it this way. If you're in this situation, nobody cares. Don't go there. Right? So again, it's just logically thinking, where are you? Who will you be talking about? What do we think they want to hear?
Talk about that a little bit more, about analyzing the situation before you speak.
Right. So that takes a lot of experience, and one of the biggest things that it takes is confidence in yourself. So it's all like your mindset. So again, people think that you can just practice, which I always encourage, that you do want to practice. But it's practicing what? What are you practicing? So it could be, I need to nail my 30-second elevator pitch, like if you're in a networking meeting, or if you're at the chamber and you're going to an event and 50 people say, so, Shawn, what is it that you do? You want to have a good pitch that will pique their interest, not bore them, and not think it's a canned pitch. But again, if you're talking to Sally and she's an insurance agent, and you're talking to Joe and he's a fellow startup, hopefully you'd be saying two different things, because their experience and their understanding level is different. So again, if you know who you're talking to, you can tailor your pitch.
So say it's a room of strangers. Would you ask them questions first before going into your pitch? Or how would you kind of analyze who you're talking to if they're all strangers?
Right.
Before speaking to them?
Well, it's helpful if they have a name tag and you can kind of sort of see what they do.
Okay.
But a lot of times people's names of their business don't give you much guidance on what they do. So if someone says, so Shawn, what do you do? Then you could...
Silicon Valley Successes.
Yeah, you could have Silicon Valley Success. So I'm going, oh, well, what does that? Tell me more about that. So like in 10 or 15 seconds, you can tell me a little bit. Oh, that's really great because this is what I do. And that's how a really good conversation starts at a networking event.
Okay.
So it's not just your canned 30 seconds because people's attention span is 7 seconds.
Oh,
so
interesting.
if you go into 30 seconds, they're going to go, what a dunderhead, right? I'm tired of listening to this guy already, and it's only been 20 seconds.
Yeah.
So people's attention spans is 7 seconds, which is why a standard elevator pitch of 30 seconds is often too long.
Interesting. So do you practice a short 10-second pitch with
So
them?
I teach people how to say what you do in 10 words or less. So people freak out going 10 words. I can never say what I do in 10 words. But it's actually very easy once you get to what is the compelling thing about what is it that you have to say.
Okay.
And again, the other trick is you don't want just one. Again, you want several of them depending on who you're talking to. And the beautiful thing is once you get the great 10-word statement, that's 7 seconds if you're talking in a normal pace. So that's somebody's attention span. Brilliant, huh?
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
So when you work with a brand new client, what's kind of the process? Is it, tell me about your business, now let's get your 10 words, and now let's take those 10 words and do them in 10 different situations. Then now we'll do a 2-minute, like what would a new client work with you? What's the process?
So for me, it's very organic and very individualized. So some people may come to me, I work a lot with one-on-one and a lot with businesses.
Okay.
So if you come to me, Shawn, as an individual and you want to work with me one-on-one,
Yes.
and what we do is basically this, right? So I'll be just talking, having a casual conversation because I can glean a lot of information about you in this conversation that you don't even know I'm gleaning. So I will ask questions about, why did you want to seek me out? But tell me about your business.
Okay.
Are you from here? Have you lived overseas? Are you married? Do you like pets? What was the most challenging thing you've ever done? What do you love about doing what you're doing?
So you're collecting information this
I'm
whole time.
collecting information and body language.
Oh.
Because I'm collecting, do you talk fast? Are you talking in a way that's halting? Do you have to stop and think about things before you continue? Are you slow and methodical? Are you just so I can gather all that information just by a casual conversation.
Okay.
And then I'm also getting more about how I think I could help you. And a lot of it is you don't even know it.
Okay.
Right? So you may have flinches or body movements that you're not aware of. Most people are not aware of what they're doing because we don't think about it.
Yeah. Now, when you're getting all this knowledge from a person, are you later taking notes, or how would you remember this for the second time you meet the person?
So it depends again on who I'm with. Some people I will meet with them. It's a formal meeting, and I will have my notebook out there with their name because it's customized, and I will tell them, by the way, I'm taking notes, and I always photocopy it so they can know the notes that I'm taking, because I'm taking notes not only for me but also for them.
Oh.
Right, like they're really good about this. I'm noticing they're doing this. Oh, they said this is their goal. They went to law school for 10 months but dropped it because, and I'll say why. Because again, all of this is information about what kind of person are they. If you're an engineer or a law school person, you have a different way of thinking than if you're an artist. And if you're in a startup, a lot of startups may be around art or a creative bent. If your startup is around an engineering app, you think differently than this person. So again, it's all about information from me and then also about you.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So we're here today on Silicon Valley Successes, interviewing Doris Pickering, who is the founder of Silicon Valley Speaks. Back.
Yay, back.
Yeah. So as founder, they have a product, they've gone to a few investors, they've not raised any funding. and they're frustrated.
Right.
They come to you for help.
Come to me, because typically what I will do is say, okay, pretend I'm the investor and I want you to give me the pitch that you've been giving. And usually I will also say, if you have a slide deck, send it to me before we meet. So I can glean a lot, again, from people's slide decks.
Okay.
Because again, it's not
Tell
so
me
much...
a little bit about the slide deck.
Right. So for me, it's not so much, because there's a lot of different opinions out there. You know, a good rule of thumb is 10 to 12 slides. You don't want to slide with people. Some people are going, you need to start with the team. Other people are saying you need to start with what it is and why people should care and end with the team. For me, I've asked many, many, many people, and it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't really matter as long as the information you need is there somewhere. And also that you're comfortable presenting the information.
Okay.
But for me, I can look at their slide deck. Is it too busy? If it's all text, that's the kiss of death. If there's too many graphs and there's 18 bars on a graph, it's too busy, because people don't think that way. So again, is it clean? Is it too busy? Is it messy? If you were just handed the slide deck, would somebody know what you're trying to say, right? And if it doesn't, then that's where I can start. The other thing I'll do is say, okay, I'm the investor, you know, tell me your pitch, and I'm going to give you $100 million if I like your pitch, right? No pressure. But again, it's like I can tell a lot. Are they a meanderer? So like, here's their slide deck and their first slide, but does it take them 10 minutes to talk about this slide? And then they're going, oh, I know I'm out of time, and they fast forward it, but this slide, and then they meander, right? So I can tell a lot by how I think they're losing the investors by how they're presenting. And it could be like a lot of people, they get nervous. They'll do body twitches. They'll do this, or like they'll be messing with their hair, and it's all, usually they don't know they're doing it. They could be clearing their throat. They could, if they're standing up, they could be shifting. You know, I know a couple people, and they just have this action around their throat, right? But they don't know it.
How long would it take them to untrain one of these habits after you've pointed it out to them?
It depends on what habit it is. Because again, different habits are formed for different reasons. If they've been doing something since they were a little kid, it'll be harder to undo that habit than if they just started it recently. And surprisingly, people start pick up and lose habits all the time, unaware. Typically, the worst habit that people pick up quickly is the tick with the words like. You know, and you could go for 20 years and never saying like, and then all of a sudden, by osmosis, who knows where, they just start saying like all the time. That's an easier habit to break than if you've been like doing your eyebrows since you were 6 years old. Because again, that's a lot longer that you've had, so it'll take a lot longer to break. But if it's just a stance, like if you're, like for me, I realized, and I didn't know it, that I cocked my head all the time. Well, so I didn't realize that until I saw myself on camera, because I started doing this a lot. And I'm going, why am I crocking my head all the time? So now I can, through learning, that took about 6 months. You know, so again, it just depends on what it is and how long you've been doing it. And the big key for me is how coachable you are. And are you willing to change it and going, you can't tell me anything, I already know everything.
So someone that comes to you with a pitch deck that's very cluttered and you know it needs to be cleaned up. If they're not wanting to change any of it, and right there, that's a sign they're not coachable. Would you drop the client right there? No,
not necessarily. It depends, again, on their personality, because some I will, and some I won't. Because some people, it just takes more convincing and letting them understand. So if you've been giving this pitch 6 times and you've gotten 0 feedback, at what cost do you want to keep continuing with this? So again, it's like a choice. And they came to me for a reason. Right? Something isn't working. So again, it depends on their personality, because I've dealt with a lot of different ranges. So I can usually see beyond that first objection where I think it's great. It's like, well, this, let me show you this versus this. So I'll show them what I think is a good slide versus their slide, and then they'll get it. Because a lot of times it just takes people, we're all human, they're human, they have an ego because they just founded a company, and it's not for the faint of heart, so you know they have an ego up front. So again, it's just like, how do you work with them in a way that will soften their defenses and really make them understand it's to their benefit to have a good slide deck.
So of the founders that you've talked to and you've met, what percentage would you say, if they were just alter or be able to speak a little bit better, a little bit clearer of a message, would be at a whole different level than where they're currently at?
I would say probably 90%.
Really?
90%. Because again, if you're the founder, that's not top of mind for you. Your top of mind is my product, right? Getting it out, because usually the founders are the ones that created the product.
Yes.
Usually, not always. So typically, they're good in that. They've never really thought about going out. Gosh, now I have to do this dog and pony show all the time. How do I do that? I'll just do what I've always done. But what they've always done is this.
Work on the product.
Not presenting.
In a situation like that, would you recommend that they train themselves to become better speakers, or to bring in a co-founder or a salesperson or someone that could sell for them or pitch the idea?
It depends on how they're going to structure their company.
Okay.
So I would recommend that they do it first, because you don't want to remove yourself from the end user or your product up front.
Okay.
You want to be sure that you, as the CEO, can sell it. Because if you as a CEO can't sell it, again, you're not going to be taken very seriously. Most CEOs of big companies, they're there for a reason, and that's to sell their products. They sell the company image, right? Again, if they're a big company like, say, HP, they're not out selling the mice and the keyboards, but they're selling HP. So if you as a CEO can't be believable and credible to sell your stuff, you're not going to be a credible CEO. So you have to start with you.
So is there any time in the growth process of a company where someone can say, you know, I've spoken for several months or years, I've brought this company from 2 people to 50 people, I think I'm a good speaker, I'm done?
Yep.
Or are they always train and always learn and always adapt?
It's both, yes. They've passed the test, they're a good speaker, but you never stop. I still learn every day. I had a wonderful client this morning, and I learned from him. Every client I have, I learn something from, and I am an avid learner myself. I'm on my own lifelong journey to learn every day. Voracious consumer of TED Talks. Best library in the planet is TED Talks, and I help people do TED Talks. So again, you know, it's just you can be the starter of your own startup company, but still have a greater vision for something other than your own company. And that's something that I also encourage people to do, is there's something beyond even that. What is it? And always try and do that, because you can get pretty boring if people go, oh my God, here comes Shawn again. That's all he's going to do is talk about his stupid company, right? And you don't want to be that person. So you want to have people, this is the best company. Shawn, he's into something great. And also, Shawn is really avid in his community about this. Did you know that? So you always want to do something bigger than yourself and bigger than your company.
So you're selling kind of the vision of where the company is going.
Right.
Okay, how important is visualization in being a good speaker?
So what do you mean by the visualization?
Seeing where you want the company to grow, where you want it to be one day in the future.
Oh, I think it's very important. But again, a lot of times you don't want to be able, a lot of people aren't set up to think 20 years out.
Okay.
So again, when you say visualize the future, how far out are you really thinking? Because again, you know, to get seated and, you know, round A, round B, round C, you have to think in those terms, but always around, you know, the end goal. But you may not know what the end goal really is. You may be starting your company and go, I want to be sold to Google for $100 million. And then 5 years in, you're going, I never want to sell my company. I love my company. So that may shift, but to start out, you really want an end goal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, let's recap on a little bit of what we've talked about today. We've talked about having a different presentation for different stages of your company,
right,
whether it's with friends and family, angel, or later investment. How important it is to have confidence and to sell yourself when you're speaking.
Right.
Also, the pitch deck, how important a nice, clean pitch deck is to talk about your message, and how important it is to be able to communicate your message to your team.
Right.
What else is, what am I missing here? There's a lot.
No, well, again, we could go on all day, but for me, the number one thing is to believe in yourself and have confidence in yourself. Because when you don't have confidence in yourself, people can feel it. And people want to work with confident people.
What are some tips or tricks that you'd give a founder to gain confidence?
To gain confidence is, again, what I said earlier is practice. You need to be able to have a clear, compelling, crystal clear message, but you need several messages. And they need to be practiced enough where you can just pull this one out of your pocket and then pull that one out of your pocket, but it doesn't sound rehearsed. But you know it well enough that, wow, it sounds great. Wow, that's great. Because you've done it enough where you won't have to go, God, who am I talking to? Which one am I going to say now?
It was mentioned TED Talks is a great resource.
Very.
Is there any particular speakers or CEOs or anyone that you'd recommend people to really pay attention to and try to gain knowledge from it or emulate?
You mean away from TED Talks?
Or TED Talks.
So if you look at TED Talk, Amy Cuddy, she's one of the most watched TED Talks ever. So she does a great talk on your body language and how even if you're not confident, you can pretend you're confident and it actually changes your chemical makeup, which will then change your body image about yourself. So it's a very, very good one. So Amy Cuddy. Amy Cuddy. Really good business leaders are people such as Meg Whitman, and just pick your political person that you want to choose. And then what I also say is pick a political leader that you don't choose, because no matter who they are, part of our challenge that I always say is incumbent upon people is you need to be able to not be resistant to somebody that you're coming across, because resistance is an energy that's very negative.
Interesting. And what would be one piece of advice you'd give a founder or a startup?
Believe in yourself and go for it.
Oh, great advice.
Go for it.
All right. So I'd like to thank everyone for watching us on Silicon Valley Successes. If you'd like to find out more information, visit SiliconValleySuccesses.com. But before we end the show for today, Doris, could you please give a little bit of recap on what you work on and how people can reach you?
Sure. So my business name is Silicon Valley Speaks, and it's SiliconValleySpeaks.com, so that's nice and easy. But I work with executives and professionals, startups, people who want to either create a speech or a pitch deck. I work with PowerPoint slides, but basically I can create your speech, edit your speech, work with your body language, so people go away from you going, that was an awesome person.
Oh, wow.
I will sign up for that guy.
I can't wait to learn more about presenting myself a little bit better. And do you have any suggestions for me after watching or being interviewed on this show?
No, I love your smile. You have an awesome natural smile. And believe it or not, that's one of the biggest challenges people have, is they think they're smiling when they're not.
Someone just won brownie points.
We're
gonna have to get you back on the show.
We'll give you 2.
Okay. We didn't need makeup for today.
Hey.
Yeah. So we're definitely have to get you back on the show. And then there's still a little bit of time left.
Okay.
So one more tip you'd give to a startup.
To a startup is video yourself giving your pitch before you go to a VC.
Great advice. Thank you, Doris.
Thank you from all of us at Silicon Valley Successes. We hope you found the information presented today useful in your path to success. For further information on accessing the resources in Silicon Valley, you may visit us on the web at SiliconValleySuccesses.com, on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you. And remember, we want to help you in your journey to become the next success.